just a quick, let me do this. Just a quick talk about the asset flips that's going on. I know Gary, you mentioned, or some of you guys mentioned too, about how like nobody should be blocked because you do a asset flip for a game. That's kind of weird. For me, that's kind of odd. I know there's a big topic on it, and I kind of want to talk about it because I know I asked it to Bite Me Games, and I asked him like, "Hey, what do you think of asset flips?" And he's kind of like didn't want to talk about it, kind of like tiptoed around it. He really didn't want to share because people are really sensitive about asset flips. And I'll give you guys my input as a game developer on asset flips. I think game developers. Here's my thought. Game developers, keep in mind it's not all the way process. Game developers should use asset flips, but to a certain point. And then this is what I mean by asset flips. Um, Asset flips can be something that you can purchase, and then you can modify, and then you can do. All right. The problem exists when those assets are used throughout many games. So if they're let's say you want to buy this cool looking character, right? Whatever, right? Whatever, maybe a cool looking gun, right? If another game is using the same type of gun, people are gonna, or players I should say, are gonna say, hey man, this gun is exactly the same as this other game that I liked. Are you trying to like steal his thunder? Are you trying to steal his art, or what are you trying to do? And that's where the issue kind of comes up, where I can see more people, or players I should say, complain about the process. It's not a good thing to do. And then there is a way to combat it, because honestly, as a game developer, there's just too many things going on with art, right? And you obviously can't do all the art. That makes sense to me, right? And I'll explain what I mean by asset flips. This is what I mean by asset flips, right? Say you got your, for example, your tree. We'll go with a tree. I'm opening Blender here. You guys know I do use Blender. So say you got a tree, simple tree, right? Nothing, no big deal. Where's tree? Right, and you might have used it in your game. You probably already done it already. If I can find a tree, where is it? Tree. Oh, I can just look it up, huh? There it is. Tree trunk. Oh, actually, where is it? Tree, basic tree, right here. All right, say you use this in a game. Do you know who James Sterling is? Who is James Sterling? Please explain. Just so we all know. And this is what I mean by asset flip. Say you use this tree. You want to just modify it? You can do this. This is what I mean by just change it. Maybe move the vertices around. Do this instead. Maybe move this tree around, right? Maybe move these bushes, right? Maybe make them into a different position, enlarge them, right? Maybe change things around, change the color around. That sort of thing is what I mean by asset flips, right? Maybe you can do a new material here. You can kind of change it to like a brown instead of being it like a different color, right? It doesn't have to be exactly the same. It could be a little bit different. And that's what I mean by using asset flips accurately. You don't want to like straight up copy and reusing it and then change, do it. If it's like your main character, obviously do not use asset flips. Use something else. He coined asset flips referring to a game that was clone of another game, but the assets were switched out. Okay, asset flips referring to a game that was clone of another game, but the assets were switched out. So it's really not really even the word is correct. The definition of asset flip is not even correct then. If it's an asset flip, if it's what he was trying to refer to a clone of a game, but just changing the assets around, then even the definition doesn't go well with what their people are trying to argue about, or players or even artists, right? Asset flips, I would think, would be kind of like what you were saying, a game that just switches assets around, right? Of a clone of a game. And I think a lot of players get that impression when game developers are saying, oh, we're gonna use asset flips for our game. Maybe even the definition is incorrect. They shouldn't use asset flip as an argument for it. The assets are flipped, and the game is published over and over. And I think that's what players don't want. Is the same game over and over and over and over again, right? We don't want to see the same game. We want some originality to the game, something that's more like when you go, oh wow, this is something cool, this is something new. All right, if you're using now, here's the other thing, and I think this is where players are getting it wrong. If you use the same, for example, tree, if you're using the same tree for your game, and another game is using the same tree, would that be considered an asset flip? Personally, I don't think so. If it's the same character, yeah, I can see that, where it's kind of like the same process, or it's kind of recloned again. There was a dev, Steam, that got banned back in 2015 for publishing the same game over and over and over, but under different titles and different assets, hence the term asset flip, which has nothing to do with what people are arguing. I think it has to do more with AI art. That's like the taking the World of Warcraft and adding a pixel overlay in the graphic and selling the game as Pixel World of Warcraft. I think that's what it means, yeah. That's exactly what it means. Do you do that? Do you do that? I think it's more on the basis of AI art, really, what people are arguing. They're like, oh, you're using AI art, boo, you're not a good game dev. You should be using your own art or having someone do the art, which is another subject for it. I think AI art, it's still not very good, and this is what I mean by AI art. I have Midjourney, and I use it just to get references and ideas. If you ask Midjourney, draw something in particular, it won't be able to do it, like draw a person using your left hand. So if you go to Midjourney or if you go to ChatGPT, you say, hey, draw someone with their left hand, it will not be able to do it left hand because it doesn't have the reference for a left hand. It can do a right hand, which it will point out, but it can't do a left hand too as well. So it's kind of still very unused AR, even in general. So I think the term asset flips is kind of like gone off the rails and being able to use something else. He's also a controversial person, so I won't share a link to him, but he's a wrestler, gamer, YouTuber. Also worth watching back in the day. Yeah, I'll take a look for sure. Yeah, but I think it's coined very weirdly, asset flip. I don't think many players know what really asset flips are. But I mean, still, even then, even if you use like a tree for my example, right? It's fine as long as you kind of like mix it around or change it around. And now here's the thing. Here's how much assets you can reuse. Here's my thought on assets. If you're using your game, say you're using your game, right? And then you're using the same, in this case, same assets for this example. If you're using the same art for your game and you was like, you know what? I don't want to reuse the same art. I don't want to do that. It's too much work, right? This is what I would suggest to you, since we're all game developers, alright? This is how much asset you can use. Reuse asset for your next game. Here's my initial thought on it. We'll do some diagrams. Since you guys like drawings, I say here. Say this is pretty good. Yeah, let's do this. I think this is fine. Let's do a brush. Like that. This is okay, right? This is fine. This is probably like, say, 10%. If your next game is using, well, and I can't even type 10%. I haven't used MS Paint in forever. If you're using 10% of assets, reuse asset, I think that's fine. Anything greater than this, you're going in the danger zone. Like if you know, players will say, "Hey, this gun looks very familiar. Why are you using this? Didn't you use this in your other game?" That sort of thing could be an issue, right? You obviously want to have some originality to your game. Obviously, you don't make the same guns, right? Okay, maybe use the same table or trees. That's fine. You can kind of like move things around. I'm okay with that. Anything further? So say if you go further than that, and forgive me, I haven't used MS Paint in like forever. I think I can do this. Anything around here. Something like this. Anything above here is a danger zone. So anything above 90, right? 90% danger of assets. I think anything 90, it's really risky. You don't want to go on that danger route. Clump Another Game is likely like why our games are pretty much the same because of the breakdown. How many games should there be in a box, and don't want to take chances off the box. Yeah, I think so too. So far for your YouTube video, what are your considerations for physical or moral between downloading free assets and paying for asset pack? Okay. Or paying someone to make your assets, or having a paid team member responsible for assets? That's a good question. Free assets, the problem with free assets, and I mentioned this before, if you use free assets, just keep in mind many developers are going to use that same asset, and people are going to call you for it and say, hey, this other developer uses the same freaking assets as you. Are you cloning his game, or are you reusing this art? I don't like that. Warning, right? Be careful with free assets. They're easy to make, they're free, but be very careful because people will call you out on it. You're better off just using something else. Paid assets. So paid assets packs, I like paid assets packs. I have used them before. But same issue, not as much. Developers will use paid assets because if they're like brand new, they're not gonna be using the free assets. So you might have a little bit of leverage, especially if you beat another developer or another game from using that paid assets. If you're like the first one and your game really hits, then you're fine. You're on the clear. But the next guy that's gonna use the same asset pack might have a little bit of issues. Some, especially if you're using the same type of game. Say I'm making a tower defense game for my purchase asset, and another person makes another tower defense game. There could be an issue. There could be some sort of conflict between those two, right? Another player that also plays tower defense will say, hey, didn't this guy also make the same sort of assets? How are you guys copying each other or what? So that would be the only caveat, I would say, for using paid assets packs. They're still good though, but if you can beat someone to it and it's not as very well used asset pack and it's a different game, I think it'll be okay. Just keep in mind that, more players are gonna probably pay attention to many paid assets, so you should be okay there. Having someone do it for you is ideal. However, it can be expensive. I know I mentioned Fiverr before. It's good to use Fiverr. If you have someone in Fiverr kind of draw like you're an idea how to do it, your illustration, it's much better because it's original and it has different look to it. I think creating your own or having team members create it, it's the best option. If you can have someone in your team do it and they'll do it for free or you pay them, then that's really the best option that you can do. Because they have the same kind of like goal in mind, making the game, making a good game. I like doing a mix. I don't really like free assets packs unless if I'm doing like a quick kind of like like a game jam or something, right? It's just your first time to do the free asset, that's no problem. If it's kind of like a commercial game or a bigger game, well, nowadays I always use my own art. Right? I do the art, or either I have someone do it for me. Purchase access pad are fine, but keep in mind that if you use the same asset as somebody else that already made a more popular game, you might run into some issues where people will say, oh, this is a copy or a clone of this game. Alright, you have that issue. For me, I like using a mixture of my own art and having I'm paying somebody to do it for them. I don't like AI art. Like I said, AI art, and I'll show you guys the example. And I do have Midjourney. I use it as a reference. So here's my example of AI art. Imagine a vector art drawing of a left-handed person writing. Writing. There we go. Right? And this is what I mean. If there is no reference for AI art, you're gonna get wrong stuff. AI, it's good for some things, but it's not very accurate. So be very, very careful with AI. If people notice like, hey, this guy's supposed to be left-handed, right? Here's a good example. Look, what do you guys notice? Right? I asked for left-handed. What did it get me? For you guys that are left-handed, this is left hand. This is right hand. Big difference, right? It's not giving me the left hand, it's giving me the right hand. Because that's the only reference it has. Now you can flip it around, but it won't work. It'll look weird. Right? There's no camera angle going on the left. You can flip it, yeah, you can flip it. You can flip this one and like, but it looks weird if you flip it though. Right? Let's say you didn't even notice. It didn't even occur to you. It's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have the main character be left-handed. And then boom, you have it in your storyboard. People are gonna call you out and say, hey man, are you using AI art? So what do you mean? This is supposed to be left-handed. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. You can't flip it. It might look okay. I'm sure if you do flip it. We'll try it. Let's see. Let's see flipping. Let's see. Let's try flipping it. I'm curious. Will it flip well? I don't know if it will flip well. I honestly don't know. Oh, let me cancel this. I meant to say this one. I have no idea how it would flip. Copy. I have no idea. I don't know if you can. I don't think it's gonna look good. How do I... And I forgot how to use freaking... rotate? Oh, sorry, not vertically. Horizontally. Yeah, that could work. That could work a little bit. You can flip it. Okay. That probably could work. Yeah. I guess you can kind of get away with it. Yeah. Maybe. Depending on the angle, you can do that. But I think that'll be the only warning you can do. It's... might be okay. I think more left-handed people hold their hands like this rather than like this. It could work. Yeah, I think it could work. But just keep that in mind. Whenever you do something AI or something, keep in mind it's not perfect. I would still say keep it with a grain of salt. Use it more as a reference. For me, my stuff with AI art, I would use it more as a reference than actual art. You can use it just with a grain of salt. Those are some things that you can run into AI that I would say, ooh, be careful. So that's my thought on asset flips and art that you can use. Use a mixture. Do not rely only on free art. And if you can, have a teammate do it for you. Or not, pay someone, right? Just pay someone a few things, a few dollars on Fiverr, right? If it's your first time, then yeah, I would say, who cares, right? If it's a free game, a hobby game, doesn't matter. But if you're trying to make money out of it and you're trying to get some commercial out of it, definitely use like someone like to do the art for you. Not everything, right? You can, like I said, 15%, right? That's like the idea. The ideal, like maybe 50%, change things around, modify it, that's fine, right? Don't really mention anything about asset flips, because if people hear that, you're gonna go, oh, this is a clone, right? Even though it may not even be a clone. I don't know about blocking people. That seems too harsh. It depends, right? I would say it depends, like how much of your game, like if your game is 80% asset flips or 80% other assets, purchase assets, I can see that. I can see people protesting that. It depends on the game of using AI art. I'm not very prone on it. I would say be very, very careful with AI art. You'll be surprised. People catch on. Like if your art doesn't match the AI art, you'll say, you know what? There's something funny with this art. This art in here is different from this art in here. So be very, 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 very careful. Make sure that it mimics your original art. Or if not, just use the whole AR process. Also, like my example, right? If you do ask it to prompt something, make sure you're thinking, oh yeah, it's using this. It got it wrong, right? It's not a left-handed, right? It's a right-handed drawn character. Yeah, that's what I would say. That's my my take on art. You can use purchase assets, right? I think that, you know, people that are blocking or doing those sort of thing for game assets, Shouldn't be doing that. I think that it should be more as a warning to you guys that people will protest for it. And if everybody has a crowd says this is not good, then it's not good for your game either. All right. But if it's 100% non-AR or a non-asset flip, then no, I don't think so. You can use your own asset, or I guess you can say your own art for it. Just change it, mix it around, right? Mix it around, make it look different, modify it, right? And then I think more players will be more accepted on that, right? Because it still has the originality, and I think that's what people don't like, that non-originality. And I see it, like sometimes I see Twitter posts and I go, that art doesn't match that art, right? Something's off here. There's two artists or something. There was a weird conflict there. And I pointed it to you guys where one pixel art has an outline, black outline, and then the other one doesn't. I go, hey, what's going on? You guys are not, there's a conflict here. These arts do not match. The mechanics can be the same because it's a side scroller, right? They could have maybe some similar walk animation or run animation, but it's not exact. It's not a copy for copy. Right? That's what a lot of games do, right? They copy each other, right? It's rare to see a completely unique experience. Very rare. You don't see rare, unique games. And I think that's where the game developers are having an issue with, is when players are saying, oh yeah, this is a copy of this game. So obviously, you can't have the same exact mechanic, right? You can't have the same exact issue, right? You're always going to have something that's very similar to how the game is to others. So a true one for copy, then I can see that. But if it's kind of similar, I don't think anyone's gonna care, right? And that's why I don't think Palworld deserves the justification of being a copy, right? It still has its unique mechanics, right? And the same goes with other games that have similar process. But just like I said again, when you do assets, as considered asset or asset flips when your modifications, don't even mention it. Try to keep everything more original, make things look different, and then that way, well, people won't say, or even an IP issue you can have, God forbid, right? Don't avoid it so you can change it, and don't even mention anything, right? When you say, oh, it's a Zelda-like, don't even say Zelda. Just say, oh yeah, this is our game. What do you think? Have the players decide that. Oh, it's a Zelda-like. Okay, fine. That's fun, right? When people say it's a Zelda-like or a Castlevania-like or a Metroidvania-like, doesn't mean your game is exactly Metroidvania, but you get the reference. It's like that, or roguelike, right? Like the game Rogue. Very similar, but not exact. That's what I was talking about earlier. The game devs have a box to what people like, so they build a game with the box, with what is going outside of the box. That's why it's a lot of copies. Yeah, you don't want copy for copy. So in other words, don't be lazy and copy exact, right? And it goes with asset flips. Don't copy the same asset, modify it, change it around. Maybe instead of an ogre having a happy face or a sad face, give it an angry face, or having the player be unique in its own way. Make it unique, make it yours, right? It's obviously gonna be a copy because tables are tables, right? Right, each table, each carpenter will have to do the same sort of table because it works, right? But make it unique, make it your own like to it. Copy it, modify it, change around, maybe do a different design than the original, and then players won't have an issue with it. And if they do, we just say, yep, here's our version, and then this is what we did. Don't even mention assets. Don't even mention purchase assets. Right? Have the player decide that, and then you won't run into that issue anymore, right? Like I said, 15%, 15% assets, trees are okay. Maybe moving around, maybe change the leaf, change the color. That's fine. And obviously, the rest needs to be more original. Player, 100%. If it's something the player is gonna always see, make it very unique to your game. Hire somebody if you need to, or you can use purchase assets. But be careful with purchase assets. Make it something that no one's already taken and used a lot. Yep. Yeah, exactly. I wonder if the answer would be different if Metroid and Castlevanias were released today. That said, fine, most people Only care if the game is fun and do one. Yeah, most people care if it's fun, right? It's just what it is now is because of AI, and there's so many. It's so saturated with games that a lot of people just copy. Not everybody. There's some game developers just straight out copy, right? And those are the guys that you want out from Steam. The ones that just copy and they have no shame. They just straight out copy. One for one copy. Right? Those are the ones that you would say, like, instead of Mario, you call it Tario or something. Right? Not Wario, right? You call it Tario. Or they come up with, it's the old saying, copy the homework, but not exact, so the teacher doesn't know. The teacher, in this case, being the player. Do not let the player know that is a copy. Make sure it's mixed, right? You're not going to tell your teacher, oh, by the way, I copied from so-and-so. He's the smart one, right? Don't tell the teacher that. Let the teacher come to that conclusion, right? They might say, is this a copy? It's like, no, I made it all myself. Oh, okay. Then he's going to be in doubt. Double check the answers like you find free which answers you want, and use to check to see if there's games made from. Exactly. Yeah. You can use it, make sure nobody else is using it. That's big. Same with purchase assets. Make sure you can use it. Do not mention it to players. Keep it to yourself, right? That's the other thing. Just don't say anything out loud. Don't even come up with the word asset flip. Let the player decide. Let people decide. And if they say, hey, is this an asset flip? You say, nope. Here's the modification. Here's the design that we did on Blender or Aseprite. And you go, oh, okay. That seems okay. No more issues. Gone. Just don't even mention it. Let the player decide. Right? And I'm sure other games like Power World and other games like that have done that. They modified their models and their animations. But if they don't say anything, nobody cares. What's the line between inspiration and copyright? I wonder if inspiration seems like the positive version of copyright asset flip. No, I take a lot of inspiration from other games. I definitely play a lot of video games. I get inspirations from playing Zelda, right? Those would be inspirations. Obviously, the arts are way different when I do them, right? The art in Zelda is not going to be exact. And I think the issue is just the copy for copy. Again, right? Copy the homework, but not exact. Make sure the teacher doesn't notice, right? If the teacher doesn't notice, which is AKA the player, then no issues. Yeah, that's the difference between using an asset flip and using a copy, right? If here, we'll go over again. Zelda or Link. Zelda. Let me see if there's a clone. What do you think of this character? Oh, sorry. I know my camera's in the face. Here. What do you think of this guy? What is the first impression that comes up? Clone or fan game? Exactly. Yep. When you see this, what's the first thing that comes into mind? A clone or a fan-based game? You don't think, oh, this is unique, right? This is something new. No, you think clone? Link parody. Thank you. Thank you. Well said. Link parody. This is not original. So there you go. There's your answer. So when you think of an asset flip, when you think of something copied or unoriginal, you think, oh, it's a fan or it's a clone. That's the first impression that you get. You don't think, oh, this is unique. No, this is fan base. This is Link, but different teeth. That's it. All right, this is lazy. This is what people call lazy work. Now, if you're to do it, maybe change the face structure, change the hair, maybe don't even put the green cap, maybe, do something else, right? Then you would say, oh yeah, it's a different character, right? But straight out copying the homework like this or doing this exact thing, first impression is going to be, oh yeah, this is Link. This is just somebody lazy. Just change things around and that's it, right? That's why I go with ducks in my duck invasion game. Yeah, nobody's gonna copy ducks except Darkwing Duck, right? Wait, lazy? I wonder how much effort D Dev had to put into it. You think so? You think this kind of like took work to do? I mean, the only thing maybe that's different. Let me see. You think this would have taken work, or you think this would have taken would take me a week? You think so? Now let's say he's good at art. Let's say if you're a good artist. What do you think this would have taken you a week? Or maybe a day, or maybe a few hours? Like, obviously, if you're, you know, you're not that good at art, which is understandable. Like, you're brand new to art. It would take you a week. Yeah, I can see that. You can make it in a few hours. I think a good artist that knows how to modify can do it probably in a few hours. Not saying everybody, right? I mean, maybe that's somebody that's new to art. Probably might take a week or two. Right, that makes sense, right? If you're new to it, yeah. An okay artist, okay, yeah. I think an average, I was seeing amateur artist that's at least that has done a couple arts and knows how to change things, how to make mouths and stuff like that. Probably in like a couple hours. I would say like maybe 5 or 6 hours max. Oh, what about the entire game? That's a whole different story. What if the entire game was similar to this and Zelda? What about a Zelda clone? Let's see if there's a Zelda clone. Zelda clone. I'm sure there are some Zelda clones. Let me see. I don't know if there's any Zelda. Or NPC clone. Let me see what happens if I put an NPC clone. No, nothing really happens. But let's say the entire game. Yeah. Let's say the entire game. If you see something very close to Ocarina of Time, like maybe the same horse, the same process, I would think more people would say, more players would say, is this Zelda I'm playing? Why am I playing Zelda if I can be playing Zelda, which is much better? I think that's what people would say. There has to be some sort of originality to it. You don't want to, like I said, it's good to have that original process where right, where it doesn't look like you're using the same exact clothes, the same exact everything. Maybe a different face, maybe a different look. That's fine, but change more to it. Don't just redo it. You might as well make something good. A good artist can make it in an hour. Yeah, I think a good artist, yeah, or less. Now animation is another story. Yeah, let's say they copy the same animation. What if that Zelda had the same sort of animation, that Link? Would that be okay? Would you guys think it would be fine? Or should it have its own unique animation? Yeah, if it had its unique animations, I would say, okay, maybe that I can be okay with that. Right, instead of doing a roll, you know how Link does a roll? It does maybe like a dash. Or instead of using a sword, you use a spear. Okay, then there's some differentiations. This is what I mean. This is what I mean by modifications. Right? When you change things around, when you do things differently from what the original does, you start getting to a different game. Right? I think it's better to make the player slightly more different. Maybe instead of using green, you can use purple. Right? Or blue. Maybe if you want to do a cap, that's fine. But do maybe a cap or something else. I'm not saying you should exactly copy it and then take an hour onto it. Just take some time to it. Make it very unique. Don't right? Don't kind of like just say, okay, it's done. Boom. In an hour. Right? No. Spend some time to it. Have some time to think. Know that the player will judge it. Yeah. I think it can be as long as the game is different to other points. Yeah. Right. As long as it's different, I'm okay with that.